Perfect. Can you hear me? Amazing. Hi, everyone. Like Britt, Jess, and Josh said, I am Earlecia Gibb, the National Ambassador for Saint Germain, and welcome to On Purpose. I am going to share my screen so I can get, I don't see a share. Let's see. Give us 1 second so I can pull up the presentation.
Earlecia, just give us a moment if you can just start.
Yeah, absolutely. So while they are figuring that out so I can get the presentation up, I didn't want to talk too much about myself because I'm actually going to be mapping some of my career journey through this wonderful experience that is really focused on how you can align the essence of who you are with your career trajectory. But I did want to cover a few things as an introduction. Firstly, this is a collective experience. It's collective and individual. So in terms of the nature of community, if you do want to share, please feel free to share. What we're going to be doing is actually doing Q&As. While I'm presenting, if you have any questions, if you have something that you need me to just expand upon a little bit more, just type it in the Q&A box and I will get to those questions. Through every session, the way that this is set up is that basically we have a principle that I will explain and show you through real examples how you can apply this to yourself. And then you'll have an exercise. That exercise is really going to help you dig deeper into who you are. And then you'll have some time to really reflect on that and we'll be able to bring those pieces together at the end. Now, after the reflection time, you will be able to share any of the findings, any aha moments, anything that you want to share, just share it right in the chat. And some of those I will actually call out and talk through. We would love to make this as interactive as possible. Again, this is a seminar that was originally designed for an in-person experience. So we are trying to see how it works in a virtual space. So please feel free to just fill up the chat. Let me know that you are there, that you are thinking, that any of this is connecting. And of course, if you have questions, please let me know. Okay, so I think I can share now. Okay, let's see. I still don't see the button. Oh, wait, okay. No, still not showing. Let's see. Oh, I see it. Okay, perfect. Yep. Okay, let's go to speaker mode. Okay, amazing. So I think you all should have a workbook by now. And if you don't, there is a link. Roll up to the top, click on that link because the workbook is going to be really essential for this self-work that you're going to be doing today. So on purpose, as I've explained, it's really about identifying those guiding values, your superpowers, skill set, and those heartfelt passions, and really being able to craft that into a language and an expression that you're able to really manifest your deepest desires and really align what you want out of your life with what you want out of your career. Okay, so like I said, the fundamental of this mapping is really the way that I've built this is using a traditional branding strategy and then layering that with reflective self-work. So on one end, you're getting this strategic framework to help you really be able to communicate and to map out how you want to present yourself. And then you have the reflective, more deep personal work where you're really able to dig deeper and understand who you are and why you respond to things the way that you do. So I really just wanted to level set a couple terms just so that we all really are understanding what I mean when I say branding versus brand. So first of all, when we think about a product, a brand, it's really connected to identity, right? So it's going to be connected to who you are, what you do, your intrinsic value, but it's really also based on what the consumer understands to be your intrinsic value. Now, when we think about branding, branding is actually the process that gives all of those features and those intrinsics more of a story, right? More of a presence. And it's how you are able to go through this process that you're able to figure out how to articulate and communicate who you are and what you do. So I don't think of people as brands, but I do use branding as a strategic process to help you really be able to communicate, to talk about and identify who you are as a person. So I just wanted to really make that distinction because, you know, we are living human beings, we are not products. And so I don't want you to think that what I'm saying is that you should be trying to manufacture yourself and create a product because you already who you are, right? It's more about digging deeper and understanding why you respond to what you respond to. Let me just move this because I don't know if that's in your way. Okay, so looking at personal branding. So when I'm talking about personal branding, again, it's really looking at identifying your values, which we're going to talk more about, your skill set, your passions, and your unique positioning. And you're able to do this in a very clear and concise way. So it really is a tool. It's a marketing tool. It's a strategy, and it's a framework. Okay, so let's get this started. So I'm going to be sipping on my Saint Germain Spritz through this because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. So Santé to all of you. If you have any questions thus far, please just let me know or let Britt know. So superpowers. When I think about superpowers, I'm thinking about your skill set. Now, the reason why I call them superpowers is because our skill sets are not just skill sets. You know, you look at this photo of me, I'm creating a cocktail, I'm making a martini, but there's something so much deeper behind the woman pouring that martini into the glass. There is a storyteller there. There is a person who is passionate about culture. There is a person who's driven by aesthetics. And all of those things make what the function that I'm doing quite special and magical. And so, you know, I have this picture of X-Men here, and I really do love superpower and like comic book characters, because the thing is that they have these skill sets that are extraordinary, right? So like Storm, she can change the weather. She can, you know, create thunderstorms, create hurricanes, but her ability to do that is also connected to her emotionality. So if you piss her off, she might create a hurricane, you know what I mean? So it's like, as you see Storm evolve, you see that she's quite disconnected. And she really holds herself off from building relationships because she's in such fear that her emotions will trigger these incredible, you know, nature elements in the world. And so every superpower is connected to an emotionality. It's connected to this human source that you create, and you make this way more magical than the actual skill that you're using. So even though you may think of your skill set as mundane, as simple as I know how to balance a cocktail, because it's connected to who you are, it actually has incredible power. So we're getting to our first reflective exercise. This is the Superpower ID. So this is all about identifying your strengths and your skills. So what I want you to do here, this is basically just a list. I think 3 to 5 for each one, or 3 to 5 for the first one. Your most satisfying job roles, put as many as can come to your mind. But here you're just literally listing. We're gonna dig deeper into this list as we move forward. But I want you to just focus on writing down what comes to your mind. And what we're gonna be thinking about are the strengths that energize you. So things that you do well, things that you might have went to school for, things that you are naturally talented in, but there has been a level of mastery. You know what you're doing, and these things are connected to when you do them, you feel really good. Then we'll move on, once you're done with that, to the strengths that you possess that actually deplete you. So they, once you're finished with them, you feel tired, they take the energy out of you, but you're still really good at doing them. Then I want you to move forward to listing your most satisfying job roles. So the job roles that really feel that you accomplished really great things. And you take your time, you have about 10 minutes to fill this out. I'm going to continue to go through the questions, and you just fill out the questions at your pace. I'll keep a time, but you have about 9 minutes left. So then you're going to list your most defining career roles. So satisfying and defining are two different things. Satisfying are things that filled you up, you felt really great about them, and defining could have been the worst job you've ever had, but it really shaped you to be the person you are. I've had a few of those. So think about your most defining career roles. And then I want you to think about when you're faced with a challenging obstacle, what are your go-to skills to get you out of those, to help you overcome those situations? And I'll give you a time check. So I had Capri ask a really great question. Can you have strengths that are both energizing and depleting? 100% you can. So please write down anything that fills each of those questions. If they're repetitive, that is amazing. We'll definitely dig deeper into that. Great question. So once you've completed, if you can just put "I'm done" in the chat so I can see how many people are working through, that would be amazing. Amazing. Great job, everyone. I love that you've identified your skills. It's amazing. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to move to the reflection. So I want you to look over the skills and the strengths that you wrote. Did you see any patterns there? Was anything repetitive? I know Capri mentioned she had both skills in her energizing and her depleting. Identify those, mark that down for you. Then I really want you to pay attention to the skills that you listed that excite you. And I want you to pay attention to the skills that you really rather not use every day. And I want you to do some thinking about why. Why do those skills deplete you? Why do those skills excite you? And in that connection to the skills that both depleted you and energized you, what aspect of that is what makes you excited in doing that skill? And what is it that depletes you in doing that skill? So this is all about why. So I want you to challenge yourself to continue to ask yourself why. And you have about 5 minutes to do that. So as you're thinking about that, I want you to take a look at this page here. So this page is really looking at the different roles that you feel when you're in a team setting. And a lot of times you could really enjoy what you're doing, but you're having to activate a role that you wouldn't generally enjoy activating when you're in those spaces. So sometimes it isn't the skill that you're performing, but it's the actual position that you're having to work under or around in order to execute that. So I want you to look at these 8 different roles that we all play at different times when in a team, and identify the ones that you really like actively taking part in. So think about any kind of group setting, any kind of group activity. At work, most of us are working in settings that we have to work in a team, work around others. You know, you can even think about school assignments or when you're given a group assignment. I know I was certainly one in school where like I hated a group assignment because I'm like, just give me the assignment and I'll get it done. So, you know, think about those times when you've been in those situations and what role you played naturally. I would love to see some of the roles in the chat that you like playing. Awesome, 1, 6, and 7. I love it, Capri. So my question to you is, when you were looking at the skills that depleted you, were any of you having to act in roles that you didn't naturally enjoy playing in? Yes or no? A 1000%. I love that. Amazing. So I think this is a really important point. And, you know, one thing that I did also want to say is that this is an evolutionary process. So you should be coming back to this work over and over and over again as you evolve as a person. And that evolution could happen in seconds, minutes, days, months, years. And I hope that you would continuously challenge yourself to think about things when you are in a challenging situation and you're like, damn, like I know that I love this field. Why do I feel so depleted? Why am I not enjoying it? Sometimes it's not about what you're actually doing, but what role you're playing within that space. And so these are the really important areas that is important for you to identify so that you can really start to claim and manifest not only the types of things that you enjoy doing and the types of things that you're great at, but also you're playing within or you're activating within the roles that you really enjoy and you really do your best work in. So Trevor asked a really great question. He asked, if it's a strength, why wouldn't you like it? So I will give you an example. So in my bartending life, which we'll definitely talk about a little bit this evening, the aspects of bartending for me that I really enjoyed was really conceptual creation of cocktails. So creating flavor profiles that connected to a narrative. Now, I hated bartending, meaning I did not like being behind a bar and serving a customer in terms of the hospitality aspect of bartending. But I had a strength in terms of I created really great balanced cocktails. I was a people person, so I connected with people, you know, that came to get a cocktail from me, and I excelled at being a bartender, but I didn't enjoy bartending. So you can 100% have something that you're number one naturally great at, that you went to school for. How many people have gone to law school and found out, you know, after they passed the bar that they absolutely hated being in a courtroom? So these are the things that you have to think about. We have skills that we're great at. You know, some people are great at singing and they hate performing. There's so many different aspects of having a skill set, but not necessarily enjoying doing that. So I think it's really important for you to identify what you enjoy doing with what you're also good at. And sometimes you're going to have a job that you both like some aspects and you don't like some aspects, and that's completely normal. That's completely okay. But at least you're understanding, well, I don't really like this because sometimes I'm I have to be in the questioning aspect of a team where I really don't naturally like doing that, but it's part of the job, then you can kind of set yourself up where it's like, okay, I don't love doing this. Maybe I need to take some classes to really strengthen that area for myself. So I think that there are loads of examples. A lot of people are putting some in the chat that you can 100% have a skill set and not necessarily enjoy executing those skills. Amazing. Great work, everyone. Okay. So we are now going to move on to passions. So we've talked a little bit about skills, and skills, again, are things that you do very well. You may have natural skills. You may have gone to school to master a skill set, but these are things that you do very well. You also have passions, so things that completely light you on fire. Things that you enjoy doing, that you enjoy being around, that you enjoy experiencing. And passions are just as important to have in your life, just as there are having a skill set that you're able to execute in a proficient way. So I will talk you through my passion that definitely took me on a journey, and I had to start digging deep to understand what was actually driving me, because sometimes you can think that a certain thing is driving you, but there's a lot of layers deeper that reveal that you actually aren't chasing what you think you're chasing. So me, passion for fashion, right? As a young teenager, I loved fashion. I have a photo here of Essence magazine that was like the Black Vogue in the 90s and 2000s. And I remember literally waiting at the mailbox for, during that first of the month for Essence magazine to drop. And I would literally get it, rip through all the pages so I can kind of chill out the overwhelm and then go back and go through each page. I loved that it connected to different cultures. I loved that there were beautiful Black women. I loved the aesthetics of it. Just everything about magazine culture, I absolutely loved. So in my mind, at 14 years old, I was like, okay, I'm going to work in fashion. This is what my passion is. And so eventually I got myself to New York. I literally applied to colleges just in New York so that I could be in New York, because for me, fashion connected to New York. So I go to New York and I start interning at Essence magazine. But I was going in and out of colleges. I kept starting out of school, dropping out. I've literally had every job you can think of, and I've been to every college and university along the East Coast in North America as well. Because for me, until it connects, I can't really commit to it. So I was, in and out of school, dropping out, trying different programs, but I just knew I am meant to work in fashion. So I start interning at Essence. I had to actually leave there because you could only be a student, and I kept dropping out, so I couldn't provide my paperwork properly. So I ended up leaving that, and I ended up landing a fashion styling assistant job. So I thought, oh my God, I made it, this is it. So I have a picture here of one of the first assistant shoots that I worked on, Little Mama lip gloss video, which is totally a throwback. I'm probably aging myself, but it was kind of like, the TikTok type rage before TikTok was a thing. It had its little moment. So that I started, working on styling shoots, and I realized I'm really not the one to be lugging garment bags up and down New York City streets and trains. So that was a little bit too manual for me. So I'm like, okay, now what? I've done all the things. I've worked in magazines. I've styled. What am I meant to do? I know that I am passionate about fashion. So finally, I find this course, this master course that is focusing on fashion and culture. So I have to go back to get my BA because I didn't have that yet because I kept dropping out. So I finished my BA just so that I could do this program at the London College of Fashion to get my master's in culture and fashion. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to write books all my life, and I'm just going to talk about fashion. This is it. This is it for me. So I go to London, and for sure, that experience changed who I was 100%. Because what I realized through these very serious theoretical courses that I totally didn't think I was going to be taking, I realized that I wasn't searching for fashion. And what I really was connected to was narratives. I was really connected to seeing stories and shaping stories from a Black lens. I was also really connected to aesthetics. So it wasn't just fashion. It was more about design, right? It was about culture. And then I realized that I was also really connected to cultures. So travel, but really understanding different kinds of localities through their expression, through their materiality. And that's when things really started to make sense for me. So it wasn't that I was passionate about fashion, I was passionate about all the different symbolisms and all of the different ways of expression that I was seeing in these different fashion shoots and these different magazines and the music videos. And all of it was really based around shaping narrative. So that's my little story about fashion. I love this quote because it's Albert Einstein, of all people, who talks about not having a special talent, but that he's passionately curious. And I think that it's the curiosity, that fire, that kind of, like, you can't sleep at night. Like when you fall in love and you're just like, oh my God, like I just can't get this person out of my mind. It's that surreal feeling that guides you and leads you. And even though when you get there, it may not be what you thought it was, it does lead you to something that's incredibly, incredibly rich. So that's passion. So let's do some reflective work. And let's think about what inspires you. I'm sure you can see how my energy raised when I start talking about that. It is something that is just completely energizing and connective for me. So think about the things that really inspire you. Think about what you loved to do as a child. If you could get paid, like a paid sabbatical, what would you go off and do? A lot of us are on sabbatical right now, but we ain't being paid. So think about if you were being paid, what would you go do? Also think about the type of people that you're drawn to. So I'll give you 5 minutes to work through that. So as you're finishing that, let's see. Okay. Oh. Perfect. Okay. So the reflection for this is really going to be looking at any connections or patterns that you're seeing across your responses. I'm going to continuously ask you about patterns because we are human beings, we are habitual, and so you will see that through your journey that you do have patterns. You do have things that you continuously do and that you may not connect to a pattern, but once you see it written down, you're like, whoa, I totally do that. So I want you to see if there's any connections, any patterns there. And I want you to start to identify what you think your passions are. Once you've identified what you think a couple of your passions for, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5, I want you to think about, are they incorporated in your career goals? Are you activating them in your occupation right now? If you are, how are you doing that? In what ways are you connected to your passion, or what ways do you get to play with your express your passions, connect with your passions? And if not, why can't you? Or why aren't you? And once you've had some time to think about that, and as other people are reflecting and feeling that out, I would love to hear if there are any passions that you have identified, if you had any connections or patterns, and if you do have passions that you've identified, if you are actively able to pursue those in your current career. So any of those, head to the chat and let me know what your passions are and if you're actually activating them and incorporating them in your career goals. Health and wellness, that's a great one, Steph. I think, when we think about many different occupations that are outside of the medical field, you often don't think that you can incorporate your passion for something like health and wellness in different kinds of industries, and that's actually not true. I think one amazing thing about being an ambassador, and one of the reasons why I am in this field, is that I am able to tap into so many different passions. And I see ambassadors that have really been incorporating health and wellness into what they do. So that's really a great one. Travel and research. So Jessica, are you able to incorporate travel and research into your skill? Into your career, would be my question to you. Research, yes. Travel, no. Great. And were you able to write down why you think you're not able to activate travel with what you're currently doing? I think, I don't know what industry you are in, but I think there are all kinds of different ways that we can find to activate those passions. And while it may not be an everyday or every moment thing, maybe it's going, or, asking to see if you can go to a seminar, a conference that takes you to a different part of the world or the nation or North America. So I think it'd be really great for you to spend some time thinking about that, or also thinking about, well, maybe you're not able to necessarily travel within your occupation, but maybe the occupation allows you to take time off to travel. And so that really helps, that still helps supplement your passion. So there's different ways to think about how you can incorporate your passions into what you're doing. I agree with you. I just read through what you said, and you said you're thinking how you can make that more part of what, I mean, obviously right now with Corona season, you know, ain't none of us going nowhere. However, when we get back to what we're doing, because travel is also one of mine, I think that that is something you really should think about, because, you know, when we suppress our passions, we're suppressing that luminous part of who we are, that light just doesn't shine the way that it does when you are actively manifesting your passions in your life. So if you can take some time to really think about that, I think it would be really beneficial to you. Representation, I love that. Passionate about cultural influences, same here. Women in the industry, amazing. I love all of these. I think things like representation, cultural influences, woman power, these are all really great passions that you could literally bring in any industry that you work in. So those are really great. Okay. Let's move on to core values. So I don't know if I have this box here, if it blocks your view, but okay, I'm just gonna click out of it. Okay, so thinking about core values. So values are going to be the principles that guide you. They are the things that, you know, kind of shape your ideologies, and shape the way that you see the world and interact with the world. So it's really your principle, your guiding foundation. And your values are something that often gets overlooked when we think about the jobs that we do. And a lot of times you're not happy because your value system is very different than the value system of the corporation or the restaurant or whomever is in charge than yours. And so it's really important to identify your values, what drives you, and the principles that really guide who you are. So here's a picture of me in the Brown Girls Burlesque. So, you know, after I was in London, I get my degree, I'm like, oh my God, I got it, culture, fashion, I'm gonna take over the world. I get to the United States and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about and I can't give you a job because I don't know what you do. So I started bartending, which is really how I got into bartending because I needed to make money. But honestly, at that point, bartending was just, let me make my quick money, freedom, which we'll talk about, but it had that freedom where I could come and go as I please. But I was really focusing on, I am an artist and I am going to be, you know, this fashion professor and connect culture and fashion, all these kooky things. Anyway, so within all of that, I actually became a burlesque performer for quite a few years. And it's something that I talk about all the time whenever I'm talking about career development or personal development, because honestly, burlesque was one of the most defining moments, experiences in my life. And there's no way that I would be the woman or the human I am today without that experience. And what I really started to identify is this need to express myself. So, you know, we were talking about the narratives, which again, if you start to see my career journey, you start to see the same patterns being reinvented in different ways, right? So I was a part of the Brown Girl Burlesque troupe out of New York City, and they were really focused on political burlesque through the lens of brown and Black bodies. So hello, perfect place for me. But again, it's where I really started to step into this expression, and not only expression, but beauty. So beauty, I was always really captivated by beauty, whether it be through design or through aesthetics, through fashion, through culture, but this beauty from the inside out, and being around these quite radical women really showed me the endless perspective and the endless expansiveness of what beauty was. So I started to understand that beauty was a very important value for me. Revolutionary love. Revolutionary love means something so profound to me because, I'm a lover, I'm a feeler, but when I think about loving, loving in this really radical space and pushing what love could be and what love looks like and what love feels like was something that has always been really, really important to me. So when I thought about material culture and I thought about how Black people had to find the love for themselves through expressing who they were, whether it was afros in the 70s, from all different kinds of symbolisms that you have people who have been oppressed culturally, who were finding ways to revolutionize what love looks like. And so I've always been very connected to this sense of revolutionary love. And then freedom, whether it be freedom of your body, freedom of your expression, again, very much connected to it. And then I understood that I was also really guided by disruption. So not only do I love all those things, like I love beauty, but I love disruptive beauty, right? So, it wasn't just enough for me to be an artist or to be a creative, but I wanted to be in a space that really disrupted social norms. And there's nothing more disruptive than a Black woman taking off her clothes. So there, list my core values. But again, as you can see, if you really start to look at that journey, you start to see how these values show up in all the things that I do. So let's move to the reflection. So I have a whole bunch of core values here. And I hope you have your workbook because this is pretty small on my computer. So this will be a really great time for you to look at your workbook. And I want you to take a scan and start to feel your way through this. So there is a really incredible thought leader that I follow, Danielle Laporte. She's actually Canadian. And she has what she calls core desire feelings. So she really thinks about how you want to feel as opposed to what you want to do. And that has been something that's been quite profound for me. And so when I'm thinking about values, I really think about what does it feel to be in that value. I'm also a feeler and I'm an emotional person. So that works for me. But if you're a more tactile person and a different way of thinking about your values work for you, go ahead and do that. But if you can really look through these words, if there are words here that identify a value that you believe really guides you, by all means put it down, but I wanted to give you a starting reference point. So what you're going to be doing after you've looked over those values, I want you to list 5 values that really resonate with you. So, you're feeling them really, really deeply. As you saw with my values, throughout my journey, you can see how those are 100%, values that guide who I am. If you know me personally, you'll identify like those are totally my values. So these should be things that really guide who you are as a person. And I also want to say that, you may not have all of the answers today, right now, in this moment, and that's okay too. I've been on a self-healing journey for quite some time. I've taken 1,000 courses, spent all kind of money, and I am pretty versed in reflective self-work. So I didn't come up with my values overnight. So it's totally fine if you put something down and you're like, kind of feels like it, but I'm not sure, because hopefully after this, what you're going to be doing is taking another look through this and really digging deeper and seeing and identifying the truths for yourself. In any case, I want you to write down 5 values that are really resonating with you. After you write those 5 down, I want you then to rate them from 1 to 5. So 1 being the one you feel strongest about, to 5 being the least you feel strongest about from your list. So 1 is the strongest you feel, the one that's really resonating with you, all the way through 5, which is the one you're least resonating with. And again, for a lot of you, this is just going to be the starting point. I know when I'm doing my value work, I'm constantly going back and I'm, like at first I had liberation as opposed to freedom. Then I have to look up both words. And then I'm like, okay, which one really makes sense? Do I want to be liberated, meaning I'm not free and now I'm free? Or do I want to be in spaces that are expansive? Right? So like it does take a little bit of work to go through these. So understand that what you put down is not going to be necessarily the definitive, but it's going to get you closer to actively identifying what really is guiding you as a person. Once you've rated your values, I then want you to identify your top 3 values. So 1, 2, and 3, I want you to write down. And we don't have a reflection for this, but one thing that I do want you to think about is the 3 values that you have written down right now. Are those similar values to the places in which you work, or the places in which you commune, or people that you commune with? If the answer is no, you should probably go back to the drawing board. This is a really, really important one, because honestly, I find so many people who are working in spaces where the value system is completely opposite than their value system. And no matter what you're doing, it's never going to feel like home. It's never going to feel like an embodied space that you should be a part of. So it's just things to think about. Okay, so deep breath. You all are doing a lot of work here. This is really deep work. We're racing through it. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, like big hugs, so much love, so much energy to all of you, because this really is not easy work at all to do. So thinking about values moves us right into staking your claim. So I've talked a lot about, what my skill set is or was, my values that really have guided me, my passions that really have led me on this journey. And once I was working for Less Performer, that was going great. And then I started bartending. A bartender that I was working with, a star tender, as they called them, suggested that I should enter a competition. And so when I entered this competition, that is when the light switched on for me. Because remember, I told you, I am a storyteller. So when I realized that you could actually tell stories with liquid, I was like, mind blown, no idea, holy shit. So that's really when I started to step into my own in the beverage industry. And I started doing these cocktail competitions. I was whooping these white boys' asses. They were like, who is this chick? Like people from Dead Rabbit and all the top bars in New York could not understand what was going on. And it really wasn't because my bartending technique was so fantastic. I mean, the cocktails tasted great, but it really wasn't about that. What it was is that I connected this narrative to a cocktail experience. And when you come to a bar, a lot of times what you're really connecting to is the experience of it and not necessarily what you're drinking. So it really did raise my profile. And during this whole time, I was really at, I would say, the first height of Black men being killed by the police in New York and all over the United States. And I'm in this space where like people are starting to know my name, I'm making these cocktails, I'm creating these stories, but there was still something missing for me. And remember, like I'm all about disruption, right? So that's the value for me. So I'm like, I'm telling these stories, but I don't really feel like I'm expressing like really what I'm feeling right now because I'm feeling really heavy and I don't know what to do with this energy. And so I had this vision, this picture that you see on the screen. And this is really the first time, I mean, it's happened a couple times, but this is really the most literal where I've seen a creative vision and I was actually able to physically create it. Most of the times when I'm thinking of concepts, like it never ends up looking like what I saw in my head, but this, like literally, this is what I saw in my head. So I create this cocktail called the Strange Fruit. And this, you know, based off of a Billie Holiday song that she's saying that was a protest, really challenging the lynching of Black men that I really connected to the modern day lynching and killing of Black men and boys in America. Obviously quite timely because they're still killing Black men in the United States, unfortunately. But at that time, this was the space that I wanted to use as a protest. So I create this cocktail that's based off of this lynching tree. I use currants, which is like a strange fruit, connect to a strange fruit, have like cotton, like whole thing, right? And I'm like, oh my God, oh shit, I did something. This goes viral on Instagram. And I really stepped into who I was because here I understood that I was a storyteller. There are many people that tell stories with cocktails. We have all kind of, you know, narrative driven menus. Some of the best bartenders in the world are great at creating stories. But no one was going to create this kind of story because they weren't me, right? And so this really is where I started to understand my own unique value, my own magic that I was able to bring to this market, because no one, even if they were a Black bartender talking about culture, talking about Blackness, were never going to do it the way I did it. And so I was able to really step in that with confidence and understanding that no one was going to be able to do this. And that's really what your unique positioning statement is all about. So unique value proposition is a branding marketing term. And it's basically a statement that we create around a product that describes the benefit that the product offers, solves a customer's needs, and also distinguishes I can't say the word, distinguishes you from the competition. So think about Saint Germain, for instance, right? So the benefit that Saint Germain offers is that we are a delicious liqueur that elevates a cocktail. The problem that we solve is that just by adding a dash of Saint Germain, you totally change the flavor profile of your cocktail. But what makes us different is the fact that we use fresh elderflowers in our recipe. So we have a unique product. Not that there are not other elderflower liqueurs on the market, but we have something very special. And so what I want you to do is to do that same exercise for yourself. So these are the 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself. Explain what benefits you provide. Who do you provide these benefits to? And how do you do it uniquely well? And you have about 7 minutes. So again, you're thinking about your points of differences that deliver something to a specific niche, a specific audience, a specific customer. Next time we need theme music. We shall not put lip gloss on a loop. My gosh, I honestly didn't love the song when it was out. It should be my like theme song coming in. Lip gloss is popping. Ugh, the things we listen to. So I would love, as you're finishing, please don't rush. You have a few more minutes, but I would love to hear some of the benefits in the chat that you provide, or who you provide the benefits to, and how you're doing it uniquely well. Any points of that, I would love to see what you are coming up with. Oops. Okay, I feel like this one is taking some deeper thought. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. However, I will say that going through this exercise, this full exercise, I think you definitely get closer to what makes you stand out and what makes the way you do things, because only you have experienced what you have experienced, and only you have the lens that you have. Even if you're doing the same kinds of things as your peers or people around you, you are the only one that can do the things that you do because you're the only one in your space. And so it does take a lot of boldness and courage to say, no, I claim this space, but you have the right to do that because it's actually what gives you the advantage to walk confidently in a room and to also really manifest what you want out of life because you understand that you deserve it because you're the only person that can give what you can give to the world. So I know that this is a more challenging piece of it. Did anyone want to share what you do uniquely well? Need more spritz. Kate, I hear you. You know what? Let me go get more spritz because we're close. That was a great call. Again, you don't have to have perfect answers either. You're the only person seeing this, and you'll totally have time to come back to it. Yeah. The experience and the visuals. I love that. So is that the benefit that you provide or what you're doing uniquely well? What you're doing uniquely well. I love that. I love experience is everything, 100%. And the thing about experience, which is totally unique, all the things I just said, no one's ever going to be able to create the same experience that you create, like period. Like no one can. It's literally impossible. Two people can do the same exact thing, and the way that you experience it with Al is going to be totally different than the way you experience it with Yoshi. So 100%. I love that. I think that's the thing about experiences that I'm really connected to as well, is that experience isn't just function, it's actually energy, because you're giving off something that people can't actually see or feel, even though you're also giving, you know, things that you can see and feel, but there's something happening in the room or the space that is unrecognizable through the eye, but you totally feel through the soul. So I love the playing with experiences. And I would say keep expanding on how you give a different experience. I think what you want to do is write down these first answers, you know, maybe take a day, come back to them and dig deeper. So I would keep asking myself, why and what? Okay, so experience is what I do uniquely well. How? Why is it unique? Why is it unique to me? And keep drilling down to it until you really have something that is unique to who you are and really expresses the kind of experience you're delivering. Okay, so we're gonna move on. So, oh my God, you did it. Oh, what benefit? Respect, empathy. I love that. Let me tell you, respect and empathy are two things that I think just enough people don't have at the moment. So the fact that you're offering that is incredible. It really is incredible. And you should stand firm in that that is a beautiful, unique positioning, and really drilling into the ways that you can offer that kind of healing space for people. I don't know what you do, Susie, but I have to say that I got chills reading that, to be honest with you. Respect and empathy are something that are super special, and I think the world really needs right now. So kudos to you. That's amazing. Okay, so homework time. Yay! So this is the thing. What you have done thus far is such incredible, rich work. It isn't over. Again, this is evolutionary work. So this is work that you want to continue to commit to. And I hope all of you really make a promise to yourself to dig deeper and to really finish this workbook. So what I want you to do for your homework is to go back through, fill in answers that you didn't feel were quite there yet. Maybe challenge some of your answers. Really take the time. In an hour and a half, it's just not enough work to put the essence of who you are on the page, right? It takes a little more reflection work to really get to a place that you feel confident and you feel like really speaks on who you are. So what you will be doing is going back through all of your answers and all of the work that you've done thus far. And what you want to do is fill out your heart profile. So the way On Purpose works, there are 3 different phases, and the phase that you're going through right now is really understanding the essence of who you are, so the heart of who you are. Just like in branding, the first thing that we do is figure out what is the heart of the brand. What are the values of the brand? What are the functions and the intrinsics that are delivering something very unique for the market? And we put that all together, and that's the heart of the brand. And so that's the exact work that you've done today, is figure out your heart. And that is hard work. So take a deep breath, give yourself a hug. Really thank you for doing that work. Thank yourself for allowing yourself to really dig deep. But I want you to go through, and then once you feel ready, I want you then to complete this. And so what you would be completing are your core values, your superpower skills, your passions, and then you're going to finish your unique positioning statement. So you'll have your profile here ready for you. And if you are to continue on with this course with me, that will then show you how you can take this heart and actually plan out ways to manifest the kinds of roles and the kinds of companies and the kinds of occupations that you would really love to work in, and that will really fulfill you. And then we figure out how to communicate that in a way that you're able to actually attract those opportunities into your life. So those are the 3 phases within On Purpose, and you have just 90% done the heart profile piece of it. So there's a reflection that you will work through. Once you get all of your pieces here on this profile, then you're going to move to your planning, right? So you're going to take that profile and you're then going to write down what your top 3 life goals are right now, what your career goals are right now, and do the hard question of figuring out if those things are connecting for you in your life. Are they aligned? Or are you not in harmony? Once you do that, then I want you to do some serious reflection. And this may be, heading to the beach. This may be taking some time alone to yourself, doing whatever your process is, burning sage, having a cocktail, whatever it is, and really sitting down and being real with yourself. So what I want you to think about is, number 1, are those pieces aligning for you? If they are not aligning for you, where can you make shifts right now. So, you know, a lot of you are in the hospitality industry. A lot of you are bartenders or different roles within hospitality, and you may not be working right now. And so this really provides an opportunity for you to really do some deep work to figure out, number one, if you were happy. If you weren't happy, the things that make you happy, the things that you're good at, and really start to write down where you can make some shifts. And maybe right now the shifts aren't in an occupation because maybe there aren't jobs available in the field that you're thinking in, but maybe the shift is in how you want to feel, the kinds of values that you want in your next role, the passion that you haven't been fulfilling that you want to fulfill. Write down that wish list. I mean, what do you have to lose right now? We've seen our entire world crash in a matter of seconds, days. So you have nothing to lose just by writing down how you actually want to live your life, the kind of role that you actually want, your life goals. So write all of that down. I want you to do really deep reflection. And I want you to really start thinking about how you want to feel in this life. So that is the end. You've done it. I'm so proud of all of you. I also want to share with you that every person that I have the opportunity and the pleasure of ever delivering this workshop to, I want you to know that I am personally committed to helping you and being along your side throughout this process. I am not a psychologist. I am not a career coach. I'm not a pastor, any of those things, so I can't help you with all parts of your life, but I certainly can help you from the places in which I have wisdom and the places and the experiences that I understand to be my truth. And if you need any kind of, wanting to bounce back ideas, wanting to have me read over any of your statements or want to work any deeper on your values or your passions, my email is available here for you. I have an email specifically for this workshop for all of you. Obviously, anything that you share with me is 100% confidential. I am a safe space. And so if you would like, I am totally here available to continue this journey with you. And I will totally open the floor for any questions that you have. Right now, we have about 7 minutes, but let me know what questions you have. If you have any questions, you also have my email. Oh, chat. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Okay, chat. Helpful. Yay, amazing. Yeah, I just want to put in the chat that if I hope any of this connected in some way. Awesome. Great. Loving the feedback. You can also totally tell me if it was all a hot mess. It's fine. Amazing. Yes, full moon. I know full moon was yesterday. So I'm hoping you're still feeling all of that manifesting energy and love. Well, just keep filling in the chat. I'm so excited that some of this did connect to you. I really do hope you keep the promise to yourself to really go back. Oh, you can't see the email. Okay, let me just put it in. Oh, wait. Oh, gosh. Okay. Oh, yeah, because I have all of this craziness in the way. So it's onpurposebyER@gmail.com. On purpose by BYER, so Elephant Road, @gmail.com. You can also hit me up on IG and I can connect with you that way as well. But amazing job, everyone. I love you. Thank you. It was an honor. And thank you so much to Jess and Josh for inviting me to share this workshop with all of you. Thank you so much, Britt, for being my handy, incredible, amazing Elder Babe. And thank you, St. Germain, for sponsoring this. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. And thank you. Bye-bye.